My toxic uncle lies to me by saying he's in a tough financial situation, as he practically begged me for $700 so that he could meet his financial needs. But after not paying me for months, my uncle comes around to our Christmas family dinner, announcing that he's going to be taking his daughter on an extravagant vacation. But at this moment, I snapped, as I exposed him for the liar that he is, as he has yet to pay me back the $700 that he owes me. And now my entire family is turned against me, and I now seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Last September, my uncle, who we will call Daniel, came up to me looking all stressed out and asked if I could have a sit down with him as he needs a favor. He began to speak on how he was really in a rough financial spot and he really had nowhere else to turn to as he didn't have anyone to ask a loan from, and I was the only one left available. Mind you, I'm not rich or anything of the sort. I just happen to have the amount that he needed at the time. According to him, it was a serious situation that he couldn't approach or tell other guys in the family, and the issue needed to be addressed soon. So without better judgment, I lent him the cash after much insisting from him. We agreed on payment before December, and I didn't even ask for any interest on it. With lots of hugs and words, he took it and gave me his word he would pay it back. Fast forward, and we are now at Christmas dinner at my grandma's house. And all that time, I didn't give him any reminders or a checkup. I assumed that he was late or something like that, and he would let me know why at Christmas dinner, because the larger family meets every year for that. He also didn't call or say anything to update his situation, and I just had to trust that all was well. Now, on a related side note for later, my cousin, who we will call Anna, who is Daniel's daughter, recently underwent surgery a while back, as she really had it rough for the whole of last year while she recovered from a traumatic back injury from an accident. Well, everybody was enjoying their meal, and suddenly my uncle stood up at the dinner table and called for attention for a speech. He began to speak on how his business took a really huge boost, and long story short, he apparently has just cashed in on a very large profit from some deals. He then looked at Anna across the table and took out some brochure with some resort-looking location and said it was a gift to her for her tough recovery from the incident. Now all I could see was Anna visibly crazy excited. Someone asked what it was exactly, and Daniel said he was planning on taking Anna and the rest of his family to the Maldives as a celebration on Anna's accident recovery. Everyone was now happily cheering Anna on, as her gift seemed like it was something she always wanted to experience. Well, at this point I couldn't hold it in, as the words just slipped out of my subconscious mind as I looked him straight in the eye and I said the following: "Okay, so you can afford all that but not repay my debt, which you haven't even said anything on?" He responded by saying, "Why are you talking about that now of all places?" Now at this point, I was pissed off. I reminded him in front of everyone on the exact amount, and I told him the fact on how he wasn't even communicating on repaying it. Well, the entire family was in shock with dead silence, as my mom quickly tried to change the subject to avoid an escalation of the situation. Fast forward, and later on in the evening, my aunt, my grandma, and some of my cousins literally began lecturing me on how I ruined Anna's moment after she had this massive struggle, and apparently I embarrassed my uncle in the process. Well, they leave in a week and he still hasn't paid or mentioned anything on the debt. So truly, am I the jerk for ruining the moment and asking for repayment? Because right now I'm still pissed off and I don't know what to do. Oh my god, this is so frustrating, it is not even funny. Here you have a family member who's like, "Oh, you've got to help me out, I'm on such dire straits. My finances are in ruins, I don't know what to do. Please give me money, it's the only way I can make this happen." And I think any reasonable person would be like, "Sure, I'll help you out, I'll give you some money, whatever." It's only $700 apparently, according to the original poster, so it's not that big of a deal, and if I have it, I'll give it to you, especially if you're in like a rough financial spot. Like, I get it, I think anybody would get it. But fast forward to now, and we're sitting at this Christmas dinner, and it's like, oh, so that was a straight up lie, you were just lying the entire time. Because now they're going to the Maldives. Like, I don't even know where that is, but it sounds expensive. It sounds like this is probably not something that's like easy to go to, so it makes you wonder if he even had any kind of like financial problems, or was he legitimately going from family member to family member and just getting money out of them. So in my opinion, if someone pulled this kind of garbage on me, I absolutely would call them out as well. Like, you are definitely not the jerk. This is such crappy behavior for so many reasons, and the fact that he tried to guilt trip you and be like, "Wow, you're ruining Anna's big moment," and it's like, wait a second, what about my big moment in my bank account? There's literally a dent that you said you would pay back. Like, what is going on right now? How am I the bad guy? So no, you're definitely not the jerk. This is an insane situation, and the fact that your uncle is trying to spin this against you, as well as your extended family trying to be like, "Wow, you shouldn't have done that," like, that is insane, and all of them, in my opinion, are completely in the wrong. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My entitled neighbors did me and my family dirty, as they basically tricked us into watching their dog for free, because right now I'm considering going to small claims court, and I seriously seriously now am not sure what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, to give some context to the drama I've had with one of my neighbors, I have two small children who met some other kids their age at our local park. I made friends with their grandparents, who were with them at the time, and everything seemed fine. Over time, I got to know the kids' parents, exchanged numbers, and set up play dates. At first, they seemed nice, but then I started noticing some red flags. The mom doesn't hold her daughter accountable for her mischief and always lumps my daughter in, even though my daughter is very well behaved and very sweet. If her daughter does something wrong, my daughter gets questioned as well, which really seems unfair. There's also been some tension between this mom and my husband. The mom, who is a doctor, is very blunt, so much so that it comes across as rude. She's made little jabs about my husband behind his back, which I find inappropriate, especially since he's also a blunt type A personality like her. One particular awkward moment happened at our 4th of July party. This neighbor mom interrupted my dad mid-story, telling him to be quiet and wait his turn to speak. My dad has a habit of talking over people, but for her to speak to him that way, especially when she barely knows him, was just completely out of line. And at this point, I've decided to keep this family at arm's length. They are problematic and very ungrateful. But with all that being said, this is where the drama really starts. While the mom's family was on vacation, my sister watched their dog for 2 weeks. I helped her out by cleaning their house a bit, even though it wasn't necessary. The dog has bladder issues and pees a lot, so my sister cleaned up frequently. Initially, the mom wanted my sister to stay overnight because the dog needs to go out at night. However, when we met at her house before she left, she said to us, "Here's the guest bedroom if you're comfortable sleeping here if you want." The mixed messaging was honestly so confusing. My sister decided to stay overnight, but made sure to consistently check on the dog, clean up after him, and even took him on walks. Now, I thought everything was fine, and we left the house looking really clean. But when I went to talk to the mom today, her husband angrily brought up a pee stain that supposedly caused water damage to the floor. He then directed his anger towards me, and while I was tempted to snap back, I held my temper. The mom was also critical, acting as though the house was destroyed. She even criticized my sister for overwatering one of her plants. And it's like, seriously, are you kidding me right now? I had even gotten her an extra houseplant as a thoughtful gesture. At this point, I'm completely done with this family. They are unreasonable and just so awful to deal with. But I feel like they owe us money for the work my sister did. I feel like they just wanted free pet sitting and made up whatever they could to try and not pay. I really want to take her to small claims court, but I just don't have the energy to entertain this thought, because right now I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, first and foremost, I can't believe you're even wasting your time with these people. Seriously, cut them loose and don't even look back. Don't help them out with anything, just be cordial and silent and stay your distance. Because based on what you described, these people sound super toxic. It seems like no matter what you do for them, they will always find some way to complain. And that sounds super obnoxious, like I would not want to deal with that in the slightest. So sure, they didn't pay you guys for like the time you spent cleaning their house and watching the dog, but in my opinion, just take that as a lesson learned and then move on with your life. Because these people do not sound like good neighbors. And if I was in your shoes, I would just move on and not look back. Am I the jerk for not cleaning my sister-in-law after she passed out drunk and vomited all over herself? Because right now, she's saying that I should have done better at cleaning her, and in fact, according to her, I should have given her a bath while she was passed out. Because right now, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So between Christmas and New Year's, me and my wife went to hang out and drink at my sister-in-law's house, while her husband and son went away for a few nights. Basically, just a normal night. My wife and I went over to keep my sister-in-law company. We played board games and drank and all this other stuff. Now, my sister-in-law is very proper, very fashionable, and basically just a basic white girl. She's probably about 5'2" tall and about 100 pounds. Anyways, we're in the living room and my wife passes out on the couch. So we decided to call it a night sleeping on the couch. My sister-in-law then gets up to go to bed. She is a little wobbly, but she goes into the bathroom and shuts the door. Now, I play on my phone for about 45 minutes, and then I notice that she's still in the bathroom. So I knock on the door, but I get no response. I then play on my phone for about 45 minutes, and I notice that she is still in the bathroom. So I knock on the door again, but I still get nothing. I knock a few more times, but then I open the door and I look in. Well, it turns out that my sister-in-law goes to the bathroom naked, especially number 2, if you know what I mean. Apparently, she passed out while going to the bathroom and fell off the toilet onto the floor. Somewhere in all of that, she also puked all over herself. So I'm left with a completely naked woman covered in number 1, number 2, and some vomit. Now, I try to wake my wife up, but she is completely out cold. I also try to wake up my sister-in-law, but she's out cold as well. So I just grab a bunch of towels and I do a quick cleanup. I get the heavy stuff off of her, I clean up the floor, and I made her a bed of towels so she didn't have to sleep on the cold tile. I propped her head up on a folded towel as a pillow pillow, and I use a giant fluffy towel as a blanket. Now here's where I might be the jerk in this situation. My sister-in-law is mad at me that I let her lay in her own puke and poop all night. She said that I should have picked her up and put her in the bathtub and bathed her, but she was passed out drunk, and I didn't think she wanted me touching her in that state. She then replied that I have a wife and a daughter, so apparently I should have been fine to take care of her. She then said she's only 100 pounds, so it would have been easy for me to do. Now, my wife sides with me, but other women say that I should have cleaned her better. So seriously, am I the jerk here? Would you want someone touching you while you're passed out? Because honestly, right now, I don't know what to do. Okay, what is going on right now? This is crazy. Are you kidding me right now? Like seriously, this lady thinks she's in some kind of like romance novel. And she's like, why didn't you bathe me while I was naked and completely passed out? It's like, yeah, because you were passed out and naked, lady. I'm not gonna touch you. The last thing on my mind when I see someone laying in their own feces and urine and vomit is for me to start up the bathtub and be like, okay, let's get you cleaned up and bathe you. No, I'm gonna do what the original poster did. Maybe throw a few towels down and be like, okay, see you in the morning. Like there is no way I'm touching that lady. That is crazy. Because how on earth are you supposed to know that she's gonna be okay with that? Let's say you did go ahead and bathe her for some weird reason. She could then turn around and be like, wow, he did crazy stuff to me while I was completely drunk. It's like, you don't know that she wants that. Like, what in the world is going on? Also, it's really important to note that this is a sister-in-law. This is not someone that the original poster is even related to, not by blood or anything. It's literally just by marriage. So for her to be like, wow, I can't believe you didn't bathe me. It's like, yeah, you're welcome I didn't. That's a crazy thing to get offended over. So no, you're definitely not the jerk, and I think your sister-in-law and anybody who agrees with her is a complete idiot, because what she was asking of you is unbelievably inappropriate and you do not deserve that in the slightest. Am I the jerk for telling my roommate to stop cooking all the time, as she is literally constantly hogging the kitchen all the time? Because right now she is pissed off that I'm not supporting her passions. And at this point, I honestly don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I live with my roommate, who we will call Katie for the sake of the story, and we've been roommates for like a year. Things were fine at first, but now I'm losing my mind because she is obsessed with cooking. Now at first it was kind of cool because she would make these fancy meals and sometimes even offer me some, but now she likes doing it all the time and it's driving me nuts. She cooks literally every single day, sometimes even twice a day, and it's never simple stuff. It's always these big fancy recipes that use like every pot and pan we own. The kitchen is always a disaster, and she doesn't even clean up after herself right away. Like sometimes I'll go to bed and then the next morning there is still dirty dishes and random food everywhere. Also, she has started making weird stuff like fish stock and some kind of like fermented stuff, and it makes the entire apartment smell so bad. The fridge is also a huge issue. She's completely taken over all the space with her leftovers and jars of sauces and random ingredients, and it's like I can now barely fit my milk and eggs in there. Last week I came home starving after work, and she was making this huge meal, and she told me I had to wait like 2 hours to use the stove because she needed it for her process or whatever. So I just ended up eating cereal because it's like I'm not waiting that long. So I told her that she needs to chill out and stop hogging the kitchen all the time and at least clean up after herself. When I said this, she then got super mad and said to me that I'm unsupportive of her passions and that I'm being selfish. She was like, I don't complain when you watch TV all the time, so why are you complaining about this? Which makes no sense because her cooking affects me directly. Now at this point, she's being all passive aggressive, saying things like, oh, I'll just eat some frozen meals from now on since I'm such a problem. And it's like, I don't really know what to say, and now I kind of feel bad about it. But also, I pay rent as well, and I should be able to use my own kitchen. So seriously, am I the jerk for saying anything about this? Or should I have just let her do her own thing because this is her hobby? Because right now, I'm seriously not sure what to do. No, this is crazy. Katie is being so weird in this story. She literally hogs the entire kitchen, leaves a mess everywhere, and then tries to act like this is your problem for saying anything about it. Like, come on, if you're gonna do some kind of hobby like that, you need to clean up after yourself, especially if you have roommates or if you're living with someone. Like, that really is not fair in the slightest. So no, you're not the jerk for saying anything. If I was in your shoes, I would have done the exact same thing, because the way Katie's acting, in my opinion, is incredibly obnoxious. My coworker smells like absolute putrid garbage, and even though we've gone to management about this and asked them to do something to take care of this guy's refused to listen to their warnings, leaving the rest of the staff having to deal with his awful smell on a daily basis. And I now honestly dread going to work because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I've been working at this restaurant for almost 2 years now. I could be promoted to night manager soon, and my fingers are crossed for that, but right now I'm the head server at the moment. I have a passion for this job. I even had to comment on health code violations to other servers that they were doing and the things that they are still doing. And this one health code violation is an actual walking health hazard. We have a dishwasher that works on Friday and Saturday nights, and I believe he's in his late 50s. He is a very sweet guy. He makes good conversation, has funny moments, and is fast at clearing the pit. But the problem is that he smells horrible. He smells so bad that it literally makes me nauseous and want to throw up. His smell gives us all headaches and nausea, and you can smell him 10 feet away. So as a result, the whole dish and prep area smells horrible when he's back there. I actually had to tell my manager that either I go home or he does. But I'm the closer, so she needs me. His smell giving me a headache and making me feel sick affects my ability to do my job. I can't do my job if every time I'm dropping off a dish, I'm also running to the bathroom needing to throw up. I can't function right having a pounding headache. 6 months ago, he was talked about, and he said it was a medical condition. And he was told to get a doctor's note to confirm it, but he never got one. Well, about 6 weeks ago, he was pulled aside again, and he said he had a change of clothes in his car and was told to go change. He then mumbled his way back to the dish section, claiming discrimination against him. Well, a couple of weeks ago, he's been drowning himself in cologne to try and cover the smell, but it only made it worse. You could smell him around the corner. I mean, the smell punches you right in the face. But not only that, his pants sag so badly, his back pockets are down to the back of his knees. His crack is always out, even though he wears a belt. A server even saw him dig into his butt and go touch dishes right out of the washer. A separate time, I saw him lick his fingers to separate small soup cups as a way of putting them all away. But thankfully, I sat those aside and put them in the wash again. He's now starting to come in and eat on his days off, and we have to sit him on the other side of the closed section so that his smell won't affect our guests. And we even have to bleach bath where he sits twice just to get the smell out. But here's the major problem. The owner is starting to secret shop at the restaurant. If the owner comes in and smells him, I honestly don't know what would happen. The managers have told him to fix the smell multiple times with written reports. But honestly, this is a major hygiene issue. And with multiple verbal warnings and documentation of it, and nothing being done about it, I'm afraid that we will get a big backlash from the owner. I keep telling my manager that he needs to be let go, but she just can't let him go because she doesn't have that power. None of us who work with him can stand this anymore, and I'm honestly now dreading working the night shift because I can no longer stand the smell any longer. Okay, this is crazy because this guy absolutely needs to either clean up or get out. Like, there's gotta be some kind of employee handbook that addresses this, right? I'm pretty sure most places that you work at, you have to have some semblance of like cleanliness in order to work there, especially a freaking restaurant, man. I don't want someone digging at their butt and then washing the dishes, or even catching a whiff of some guy that smells like putrid vomit. Like, seriously, how is this not already taken care of? Because this guy can either clean up his act or he can be fired, and I absolutely think he should be fired. This is not some kind of discrimination case. He's just being disgusting and not properly bathing himself, or like, I don't know, wearing different clothing. So no, you're not the jerk here. This guy's completely gross and out of line, and the fact that the managers haven't addressed this with the owner or somebody above them, in my opinion, is completely insane. My sister-in-law dropped her dogs off at our house without asking us first, demanding that we watch her dogs for a week while she goes on vacation. And even though we told her we're not going to do that literally for weeks prior, she still happily ignored us, deciding instead to go off and do her own thing. But now, after we put those dogs in a shelter, my sister-in-law has gone ballistic, saying that she's going to sue us as a result. Here's what happened. Okay, I want to start off by saying that I know the title sounds bad, but please let me explain. To give some context, my wife works all day and we have 2 kids. I'm in college online, but I'm also starting my work hours. And on top of that, we have 2 rescue dogs and 2 rescue cats. And this will be very important later on. We have London, who is a blue-nosed female pitty, and Raven, who is a female husky. Raven came from a very bad household situation when we rescued her, and she is a dog who is aggressive to dogs that she doesn't know. We do have Raven in training, and she is getting better, but she's terrified of dogs bigger than her. My sister-in-law has 2 dogs, a little Chihuahua and a Great Dane. She ended up booking a trip months ago and recently found out that she can't bring her dogs with her. And so she asked my wife, her sister, if we can watch them. My wife told her sister to talk to me, and I told her, no, I'm sorry, we can't. Raven is terrified of big dogs, and your Great Dane is bigger than her. I don't want her to relapse in any kind of way. Well, my sister-in-law, who we will call Amy, then goes on this massive long tangent about how dogs can't relapse, and that apparently Raven will be fine, and that it's not an issue. But I put my foot down, and I told her that we are not watching them. Well, my wife was at work, and I had picked up my kids from my sister's, and when we come home, we find my sister-in-law's dogs in the front yard. I called my sister-in-law sister-in-law and I asked her what she thought she was doing, and she then proceeded to tell me, "Oh, it's not a big deal. I'll be back in a week." My wife then told Amy that if she doesn't get back from her trip, she won't have her dogs anymore because they won't be here. Now, she thought that we were joking, but when she came back from her trip, she found out that my wife took them to the shelter. And at this point, my sister-in-law went ballistic, screaming and yelling that her babies were gone and that we should not have done that. But my wife then told her that she had been warned to come and get the dogs, otherwise they wouldn't be here. And now Amy is trying to sue us for giving up her dogs. Now, when I say sue us, I don't honestly mean it, because this isn't the first time Amy has threatened to sue my wife and I. However, Amy has now been going around and spinning this story by saying that I'm the only one who did it and that it's my fault her dogs are gone. Because of this, we now have family members who are split down the middle. So it makes me wonder if we're the jerks for doing what we did with her dogs, because right now I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, I want to point out first off that Amy is a massive hypocrite. She's trying to be like, "Oh my god, my babies are gone, what have you done?" But it's like, wait a second, didn't you leave your dogs at their house unattended and run off on vacation for a week? Even though these people said, "Hey, if you don't get your dogs, we're taking them to a shelter." Like, if you really cared about your babies, you would be like, "Oh, let me find other accommodations. Sorry about that." Like, this lady is completely unreasonable and out of her mind. She wants to play both the victim and the assailant at the same time. So no, you're not the jerk for putting those dogs in the shelter. She clearly doesn't care about them, and she just wanted to get her way so she can go on vacation. Because in my opinion, she sounds like a very neglectful dog owner, and she should not have dogs at all if this is the way she's gonna act. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.